in Kwatra. I will dive right in. So, this is a golden era of U.S.-India trade relationships, and for a $4 trillion economy, and I know your Prime Minister has ambitions to grow to $5 trillion. What is your message to investors, plenty of whom are in the room today?
Thank you so much, first of all, for having me at this very important occasion this evening. USISPF is one organization with which I've had an absolute pleasure to work with very closely over the last 7 years. We have several distinguished business people, congressmen, parliamentarians from India in the room, so I am relatively diffident in sort of talking in terms in the presence of their expertise. But you mentioned the 4 trillion, 4.1 trillion GDP that India touched recently. We now have Japan in our rear view. Prime Minister of India has spoken about taking this to 5 trillion in coming years. But I think the eventual goal which we are working towards is to take Indian economy in the range of 28 to 35 trillion by the year 2047, when we celebrate the century of our independence. So when we talk of that, and if you position this in the perspective of an investor, for any investor, economic opportunity has to be one of the first drivers for a capital to happen. But that alone is not enough. So if I'm a 4 trillion opportunity today, looking to become 5, 10, and then eventually 30 odd trillion opportunity, that whole journey is not enough in terms of numerical numbers. It has to be combined with something which the investors truly value. First of all, I would say any investor will look for whether there is a systemic stability in the economy. Is there systemic stability in the growth of the economy? So we have been growing at a clip of average between 6.4 to about 7.3%. Which is consistently large GDP numbers for a very large economy. So there's a consistency there. But I think there are a couple of other hidden growths which are there, which are important to point out. One is a huge consumption growth. Second is a huge credit growth, credit expansion. And these two variables combine very well with the GDP growth patterns. Combine this with something else which the investors value, which is the stability in the policy making. So whether we talk of reforms of economy, or you talk of policy reform, institutional reforms, or process reforms, in each of these reform verticals, there is a very strong stability that goes with it. Add to it 2 more things I would say. One, general sense of fiscal prudence of the economy. So whether it's a deficit management or debt management, the economic policy making focuses heavily on ensuring that we are conservative in terms of this management. And I have one more element which then makes a full set of variables in a suite for investors, which is very strong push by the government in the infrastructure space. So the last several years, I would say last 7 to 8 years, total government spending on infra investment alone is close to about $1 trillion. Now, that's again includes the public money that is gone in. That is not combined with a systemic stability of the policy and the institutional reforms. That has gelled very well with the economic opportunity which is represented in GDP growth. And And all this then translates into very strong growth in manufacturing and services combined with the consumption growth. And when an investor sees this huge economic opportunity, goes into India, he is also received by a very skilled, large set of skilled human resources, which is able to service the, how should I say, the whole ecosystem of enterprise management of a business. So the minimal risk, maximum opportunity, systemic stability, GDP growth going forward at least for the next 3 decades. I don't know if investors would be looking for any other message other than this.
If it were a stock, I would want to buy it.
It's a short, medium, and long-term stock. You should go long for it.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Ambassador, we thought it was interesting. We've been in India for 160 years, and we bank maybe half of the multinationals as well as the innovation economy. We did a trade pulse survey recently of 5,700 corporate clients around the world, and the U.S.-India corridor is the corridor that people are most excited about. So if you could talk about the ease of doing business metric, because I know India has made tremendous progress over the past decade plus, but what is New Delhi's pitch on drawing new foreign direct investment?
Part of it, what I just mentioned, which is, we started with this current government, the government of Prime Minister Modi came in 2014. There was a certain way to look at the economy. There was a certain worldview of India by India itself, in which the leadership looked at India. And I think for Prime Minister Modi, that the worldview for India was economic prosperity and strong development. But that conceptual worldview of India then got translated into a large set of, as I mentioned, regulatory, institutional, policy, and operational reforms over the period of last 10 or 11 odd years, which has now generated, suddenly blossomed India into an economic opportunity that is extremely, I think is, so we have drivers which drive the Indian economy. Those are also the principal drivers that drive the engagement between India and US. So John mentioned about 3.5 visits per week. That has translated into capital, technology, trade flows of the kind we have never seen before. We are already at about $200 billion of bilateral trade. During Prime Minister's visit to White House in February this year, we committed ourselves to making it Mission 500, take it to $500 billion in years ahead. But I think the numbers only give you a very positive headline view of the relationship. But I think the vibrance, the robustness of the relationship, I think each of the persons present in the room will tell you their own story of success and fruitful engagement between the two economies. And this corridor is live with energy which is absolutely unparalleled. The US is India's largest trading partners, largest technology provider, massive investment flows between the two economies, but most importantly, enterprises making double-digit net profitability on their equity, which is what at the end of the day I guess we come to.
Absolutely. Could you talk a little bit about, India is the most populated country, but you also have an amazing workforce it's growing very quickly and is extremely talented. What can you teach us about the future of work and how are you approaching it in India?
I don't think I can really teach you about the future of work. But if you look at the space of how the entire employment sector has moved in India every burst of technology, and there are so many technologists present in this room that I actually feeling very reticent to even mentioning this. But every burst of technology space that has happened in the world, which then got to India, resulted in fairly significant disruption in the environment, in the workforce. But I would say that disruption was negative. I think it's disruption which generated a strong positive impulse, actually in the employment space, and encouraged our society, our economy, to not only adapt itself to those technological changes, which are now also quite fundamental, which is happening today, but also actually leverage that to evolve into a very strong technical employment workforce in India. I mean, probably started with Y2K in many ways, but then from the successive iterations of, you could call it BPO industry, or whichever way you want to position it. But every burst of technology growth, even if it was incremental in nature, led to absolutely remarkable evolution of technology-linked human resources in India. And I think the next phase, which is the artificial intelligence phase, will probably is no longer an exception, because even in that space, when you talk of identification of AI or developing new domain-specific AI models, I think Indian skilled talent is adapting itself to that and converting it into an opportunity, not just for themselves, but also in partnership with our international partners, like the companies here, actually into a global opportunity.
Wonderful. I'm told that Prime Minister Modi says AI stands for America and India. Is that correct?
Yes, that was something which he mentioned at the White House. He firmly believes that. He firmly believes, because the way India-US relationship is currently poised in terms of strategic opportunities, in terms of how we together look at the world, both in terms of challenges that we share, but also in terms of opportunities that we can harness, how he sees the role of stakeholders, business stakeholders, CEOs, experts, ones, the galaxy of the ones which is present here today, makes him an absolutely true believer, along with President Trump and the US administration, into believing into this corridor, and hence AI is happening.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador, for your insights. And it is clear that this partnership is about people and purpose. And